Today's video, I'm going to share with you the story of how I went from garde manger, aka pantry line cook, to lead line cook and kitchen sous, aka kitchen supervisor, at my first job fresh out of culinary school. So go back in time with me, if you will. We started off 2013 without a chef. Our chef had just gotten fired as soon as the new year hit. And we went without a chef for like 3-4 months. One particular day, it was a Sunday. Back in the day, I worked Sundays. We had 2 banquets on this particular Sunday. We had a wedding and we had another party with, I think it was like 35, 40 people. But we had a carving station. So someone on the line had to jump off the line to go work the carving station. The way the hotel ran was we had 2 restaurants. One in the back, which was the main restaurant, and one in the front. The restaurant in the front had just opened. The restaurant in the back had been opened since December 2011. And majority of the time, we only had 1 cook in the front and one of the sous chefs was working the line. So the game plan for this night was, we had a wedding of 50, 60 people. We had the other banquet with a carving station. On Sundays, we'd only have 2 cooks on the line. So the agreement was, sous chef was gonna run the wedding. He was gonna manage the wedding, make sure all the plates got set out, all that good stuff. And the second one was going to get taken care of by the other cook, and I was gonna hold down the line for dinner servers because we didn't have banquet cooks. We didn't have a banquet catering department. It was just us. That was the game plan. Ready, break. I pull up on Sunday and the cook that works the front restaurant called out. So the sous chef, he was the only person in the building that knew the menu up front, had to go over and take over on the front. So we're basically down to 2 people. And it's just the 2 of us, Kenson and I, and we're getting all the stuff ready. So this is what happened. We set up the carving party because between the 2 parties, the wedding party was the bigger one. It was more people, it was more expensive, and it was like an important local, you know? So anyways, the way we worked was we would have everything ready to go. We just had to plate, and we'd have the plates ready to go in the window, just staying hot. So when it was time to serve, we just right. I went to the walk-in, and I did one of my favorite things at the time because in this kitchen we didn't have AC. I'll never forget that. We didn't have AC, so I would go into the walk-in. I would lay down my little cart with all my little plates, and I would pre-plate the salads so that way we had the first course out the door. All we had to do was send it out. The second we opened the doors at 5:30, we're already getting time. We're like, all right, well, we know where this day is going, whatever. The sous chef would come in and check in on us every couple of minutes. He's like, hey, you guys doing okay? And we're like, dude, we have no other option. We just got to keep pushing through. So we push through the first banquet. And as we're pushing through the first banquet, we get hit with a 20 top. At this point, I snap. I'm like, who sat down a 20 top without letting the kitchen know? I'm like, right now I'm in the middle of handling a wedding. Someone's wedding is taking place right now, and then we gotta make sure that it's the best wedding they've ever had, and you're sitting there at party 20. Why? You know, there's something in the restaurants, like, I feel like it's a silent understanding that sometimes we are all aware in the building that this particular customer, this particular table is gonna make the restaurant a lot of money. And when the restaurant makes a lot of money, it's a good thing for all of us. So it is important that we are all on our toes. So why are you not on your toes? We start plating the wedding. We sent out the salads. The first party is gone. We're just dealing with the dining room. And we're getting ready to plate the second course. And all of a sudden, they drop that 20 top. And I'm like, okay. Like, I literally had to take a step back. And I was like, if I were ever a smoker, this would be time I step out to smoke a cigarette. So I was like, breathe in, breathe out. Can I get some water, please? I drank some water, and I was like, I have to serve like 75, 80 people in the next 30 minutes. Let's go. And I got into mode. I was like, you do this, you do that. I need you over here, you don't move. You over here, you do this. If anybody else asks you to do this, you tell them, talk to D. And that's what I did. And we just knocked it all out. We knocked it all out, served the wedding. Wedding was amazing. And you know how I know the wedding was amazing? Because like I told you at the time, I was a garde manger cook. I was a pantry line cook. I was making salads. The bride and groom asked to speak to the chef. So we're like, someone told John that the The couple wants to speak to the chef. So they go track John down. Then John goes into the banquet hall and he speaks to the table. He speaks to the married couple. And then he comes back like 5 minutes later and he was like, D, they want to speak to you. They don't want to speak to me. And I was like, what? And they're like, yeah, they're like, who was responsible for everything coming out so beautifully? The plates looked amazing. The food was amazing, blah, 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 blah. And he was like, usually he'd take credit for it. And this time around, he was like, I can't take credit for something I didn't do at all. He's like, I wasn't even a part of it. He was like, I was completely out of the zone. And he was like, it was actually one of my line cooks, D. So they came into the kitchen. I'm cleaning up. We're putting everything away. We're getting like we're winding down. You know how it is. You're getting ready to go home. And he comes in and he's like, D, they didn't want to talk to me. They want to talk to you. And I was like, oh, okay. So, standard kitchen etiquette, which pisses me off because a lot of people don't respect this anymore. When you're in the kitchen, you wear your apron. When you step out of the kitchen into the dining room, you take off your apron. If you're going to the bathroom, you take off your apron. If you're going to the back, you take off your apron. If you're going to take out trash, you take off your apron. Your apron only stays in the kitchen. It is restaurant etiquette. Come on, guys, please. But anyways, I took off my apron and I went to the table and I was like, hello. They're like, everything was amazing. The food was delicious. The plate presentation looks so pretty. All our guests are so happy. You made our wedding happen, blah, 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 blah. We are so happy. Needless to say, this was a place that I worked at that they actually did share the tips with everybody. So like when we had a catering event like this, a banquet event like this, everyone got tipped out. It wasn't just the front of the house. It wasn't just the servers. It wasn't just the bartenders. Everyone got tipped out. So when they tipped out that night, I got tipped out. And I was like, cool. So then the next day was Monday, and I worked Monday, and then I was off Tuesday, Wednesday. So I took off Tuesday, Wednesday. And then Thursday, they scheduled me all day. Thursdays at the time, I was scheduled 9 a.m., 10 a.m. to 10 p.m., whatever. I walk into the restaurant, and I'm like, what's up, everybody? Like, D, what's up? How you been? Blah, 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 blah. I was like, cool. And I'm just chilling, biding my time. Because the GM pulls up at noon. So sure enough, the GM pulls up at 12:30 because he was always late. I'm like, hey, Pete, what's up? How you been? And he's like, oh, I'm doing great, D. I heard about Sunday. Great job. I was like, cool. Can I talk to you, please? So we go and talk in Pete's office. And I was like, Pete, do you know how much I make? And he's like, he checks in. He's like, yeah, that's how much you make. And I was like, that's what that raise y'all gave me for inflation. It was like 16 cents. And he was like, oh, wow. Yeah, crazy. Blah, blah, blah. I was like, yeah. That was the money you were paying me to make salads and banh mi's. Cool, I'm okay with that. But that's not the money you're gonna pay me to do your catering banquet events. That's not the money you're gonna pay me to run your line. And that's the money that you're gonna pay me to run your restaurant. So you're gonna figure out what you're gonna do about that money that you're not paying me. Because now I'll just go somewhere else. And he looked at me and he goes, you know how bosses do. He crossed his legs over and he looked at me and he was like, he took off his glasses. He's like, D, I don't have to think about it. I don't have to talk to anybody about anything. He's like, how much you want? He's like, you know what? I'm going to give you whatever you want. Ask for whatever you want. I'm going to give you an extra $1. I was like, cool. So that's for what I wanted. He's like, cool, this is what I can give you. He was like, in 60 days, I'll give you $1 more. I was like, appreciate it. Yeah, he's like, and from now on, you're not garde manger anymore. He's like, you're my lead line cook. And I was like, he calls the sous chef. The sous chef comes in. He tells him everything that happened. And he goes, why stop there? Make her your kitchen supervisor. When we're not there, she can be in charge. And they were like, do it. And that was it. I walked in the next day and I was like, I need to filter that fryer. You don't tell me what to do. It's sad, dude. Anyways, but yeah. So that's the story of how I went from garde manger, pantry line cook, to kitchen supervisor, lead line cook. And all it took was a wedding and a carving station. And to that happy couple, I hope they're still together. But yeah, the moral of the story is that hard work does pay off. But hard work doesn't pay off if you just work hard. Yeah, once upon a time, I learned the hard way that you have to work hard. You have to work hard consistently. And then you have to tell people that you were working hard so that they can pay attention and see that you're working hard. Because I guarantee you that no one is going home at the end of their shift and saying, damn, Patrick really put in work today. And it's not because no one likes Patrick. It's because Patrick hasn't jumped on anyone's radar just yet. If you're a restaurant employee, take my story and see how you can apply it to your current situation, and you can grow within the company that you're at, or maybe it's time to move on to something else. If you're a restaurant owner, restaurant manager, or chef, then these people are the ones that you have to keep an eye on for, because it's basically like investing. If you invest in the right people, they give you amazing results. If you invest in the wrong people, well, you're gonna crash and burn. Well, that's all I have for today. If you're new to the channel, I highly encourage you to like, comment, subscribe, and turn the notification bell on so you get notified whenever I drop a new video. I try to drop these videos every Wednesday. I'm trying to help restaurants grow, get better, and just ultimately stay in business for as long as possible. Because if you're in business, I get to try you guys out because I love trying out new restaurants. Later.